New concerns that former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn may have broken the law. Both the top Democrat and Republicans say Flynn failed to disclose business dealings with Russia. And according to a new ABC News Washington Post poll, 56% of Americans think Russia tried to influence the election. 39% think the Trump campaign intentionally tried to assist the effort. Our congressional correspondent Mary Bruce has more from Capitol Hill. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning. Well, the president's first national security advisor this morning could be on the hook for hundreds of thousands of dollars and potentially facing jail time after lawmakers here say he failed to properly disclose his business dealings abroad. They've already fired him, but this morning the White House still can't escape the controversy surrounding Michael Flynn. Right now, the big question, did he break the law?
That would be a question for him and a law enforcement agency, whether or not he filled. I don't know what he filled out and what he did or did not do.
Over 2 years, the retired lieutenant general received hundreds of thousands of dollars from foreign governments. In 2015, receiving $45,000 for appearing at this event in Moscow. Seen here shaking hands with Russian President Putin. And now the top Republican and Democrat on the House Oversight Committee say Flynn failed to properly disclose these business ties.
As a former military officer, you simply cannot take money from Russia, Turkey, or anybody else. And it appears as if he did take that money. It was inappropriate. And there are repercussions for the violation of law.
It's an omission that could cost him up to 5 years in prison. So you think he broke the law?
I see nothing in those records that would lead me to believe that he actually complied with the law, because he needed to do something proactively, and he didn't.
After just 24 days as National Security Advisor, Flynn was fired for lying to the vice president about his conversations with the Russian ambassador.
Mike Flynn is a fine person, and I asked for his resignation.
Now lawmakers want to see additional documents related to his hiring and firing, but the White House isn't willing to hand them over.
To ask for every call or contact that a national security advisor made is pretty outlandish, if you will.
Now, Flynn's lawyer says he did brief the Defense Department extensively on that 2015 trip to Russia, but he's not commenting specifically on the claims that he may have broken the law. So could Flynn face charges? Well, lawmakers say that decision is now up to the military. George.
Let's talk to Dan Abrams about that. Thank you, Mayor, our chief legal analyst. Actually, 3 different legal issues right here in 3 different venues. Number one, this reporting requirement and not reporting the various people he was working for.
Well, first of all, that's with regard to getting security clearance, right? When you get security clearance, you're specifically required to answer certain questions. And willful and knowing concealment of information, like getting these kinds of payments, could be considered a crime. That's the most likely issue, and I think that's the one most people are talking about now.
And then the second one, we've heard a lot about the emoluments clause, whether it may apply to a president, and apparently it also applies to retired generals.
That's right. A former military officer can't receive payments from a foreign government without getting congressional consent. The question here would be, for example, one of the allegations is with regard to the television station Russia Today. Is that a foreign government? That would be the legal question involved there. So that's issue number 2. Is number 1 is concealment, potentially, of the information when getting security clearance. Number 2 is, did he violate the law as a former military officer getting payments from a foreign government?
Third one, and this is probably a long shot, a violation of the so-called Logan Act. Explain what that is.
Yeah, this is one we've talked about for a while. This is one that prevents individual citizens with negotiating, in effect, with a foreign government. And this relates to back in December, before President Trump was inaugurated. Was he having conversations with Russian officials where he was effectively making promises on behalf of the government, et cetera? That, too, could be a violation of the law. But remember, we're talking about violations that require a prosecution. It requires, in almost all these cases, where the Attorney General would have to decide, we're going to prosecute. That's why it's so dangerous for him that Republican lawmakers are making these statements.
Dan Abrams, thanks very much.